Hello and welcome again to another episode of One Starfish, where our mission is to help change the world one starfish or one person at a time. And together we can change the world if we rate, review, subscribe, share, all the good stuff out there. Really excited for our special guest. It's my first time meeting him, so I'm excited to get into his story. Welcome to the show, Pete Johnson. Really glad that you were able to join us.
Thank you very much, Angela. I appreciate it. I'm excited to talk and also get to know you also.
Awesome. So a little bit about Pete. He's a family man. He's got 4 kids from 5 to 17, which I'm sure we'll dive into that a little bit. He's in the chemical distribution business with his emphasis in concrete decorative industry, which him and his wife started this company just about 2 years ago. I guess in the heat of a pandemic, which is kind of interesting. And he's been in this industry for about 16 years, and he loves helping other people become successful in this industry, which is kind of cool. So tell us a little bit, like, what got you into this industry, if you remember back 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And what's had you stay in this industry? Where's the passion from in this industry specifically?
Yeah, it's unique. And I kind of stumbled in this industry just kind of by accident. So before I got into decorative concrete, I was in the military. So I was active duty in the Army and I was stationed out in California. And I was moving back to Minnesota, where I'm originally from. And I kind of reached out to a gentleman who was connected back here and asked if they knew any jobs or anything. And he put me in contact with a gentleman that didn't at the time have a job for me, but kind of kept my resume, and I moved back. And long story short, he kind of started a decorative concrete business. And he called me a couple months after I moved home, and he offered me $500 more a year than I was making at my current job. And so I said, absolutely, let's do it. And so I got in to the industry just as an installer. So we basically went and did residential garage floor coatings. That was kind of how I started. And then he was very bright and wanted to grow the company. And so we moved that company into from an installation company into a distribution company. And then ultimately started manufacturing the chemicals. And then he ended up selling that company to Rustoleum. And then pretty much after that, I had another company doing the same thing. And then I helped another friend start another company, all within the decorative concrete industry, and with the focus on taking small businesses or people that have just looking to get into the industry and then growing, right? So our big thing is giving them the knowledge and the tools and the resources to try to help grow. So that's been the emphasis. And now I have it on my own company, and that's what we do.
That's so awesome. That's cool. So that many years in, and during the pandemic and everything, what created the idea to start your own company at this time, now kind of thing? Was there something specific, or just kind of like just perfect timing, or?
It kind of just was perfect timing. So when I was working for my last employer, that business changed. We kind of helped start it up, and it was going really well and very successful. And they still are, but the business had changed. The owner kind of changed. It just kind of was taken in a different direction that I didn't fit with. Didn't really go against went against my core values and stuff. And so it was kind of affecting my personal life, my family. And so I decided to leave. And then I was just going to go take another project management job, it's a desk job, and just go sit there and make good money. And that only lasted a month, but I just couldn't do it. And very fortunate where I have a decent name within this industry and a lot of knowledge, where I had so many people reach out to me for consulting and training and product and stuff like that, that the business was just kind of born out of that. So we really didn't plan on starting it. But in August of 2020, in the height of everything, we just said, screw it, let's go. And we got our first order, and now we're in our fourth warehouse because we outgrew the first three. So,
Wow, that's so cool. So what are some tips that you give people, or you would give like people listening? And now I know you specialize in a certain area, but I mean, what are some tips as far as like someone that's an entrepreneur and they want to start a business that you would give them, that because that's what you do, you help people kind of grow in a specific industry, but I mean, any industries, I'm sure, somewhat similar points. What are some tangible tips that you would give someone to build a business?
yeah, well, set your goals. And so what I tell everybody is we basically reverse engineer your goals, right? So I would say, hey, what is your goal? What is your 5 year goal? What is your 10 year goal? And so if you start today, say it's August 4th, and if you plan on selling your business in 5 years in 2027, let's start with that. And what does that look like? If you want to sell it for 8 figures, what's it take to get there? So we always start with their end goal. And we deal with a lot of younger people. So they're not looking to ever really sell or get out of the industry, but we start with a longer plan. Because I feel so many people just get into business thinking get rich quick, or hey, I'm going to work half the time. And I thought that too at first. And so, if we're not setting goals, you have no, you know, benchmarks to keep hitting and everything like that. So we reverse engineer what your plan is, and then we build the foundation off of that. And then, I tell everybody, you need to have your core values, you need to have your business plan in place. And then what's it going to look like as you start getting into sales? When do you bring on, for us, like when we look at scale or growth, like one installation crew, if you're looking to go from one installation crew to two installation crews, what does that look like in sales and marketing and lead generation and everything? Are you bringing on an operations manager? And so we put it all down on paper first, just so they have an idea of what they're getting into. And then once they start, at any given time through the business, as they start to grow, we just keep checking off those marks, and then we give them the tools, or at least have the tools available that they can reach out and ask, or talk to me if they need help.
Yeah, that's awesome. What are some things that you find are pitfalls that people start businesses and then, some people are successful, some people aren't. What are some things that you think kind of make the difference between the successful and the unsuccessful?
Well, I mean, determination, never quitting, as nothing's easy about being an entrepreneur. And, we talked a little bit right before this about some stuff some hard choices and changes. And I think people just think it's going to be super easy. And for us, we're contractors. And so need to get lead generation. And so we need to basically start from the very beginning. And some people just think, hey, if I have a business, I'm going to automatically get customers and clientels. Well, it doesn't start that way. So when we tell people that, hey, you got to go spend $2,000 on Facebook ads, or, your Google listing and your Google My Business and everything, they struggle with that. Well, that couple $1,000s up front is a lot of money, but it's generating leads forever, because then hopefully we're getting referrals and doing all that. So people that can commit to the plan and have the determination that they follow it, then they can be successful. Our guys typically are doing that, but the guys that aren't or have not been successful, they're a little bit more hesitant. They don't want to spend the money. They're scared of growth. They try to do it all themselves. And when they try to do it all themselves, from running the business to the installations and everything, they're not going to grow because they can't be hands off enough.
So true. And what I see this in a lot of businesses, so this is so good. What are some things that would help someone? So someone's listening to this and they're like, man, that's me. I'm trying to do everything, and yeah, I'm wore out. And I mean, I was that person, so I get it. And I was me. What are some things that you would help someone if they came to you and said, hey, hey Pete, what are some coaching tips that you would give someone to help them get out of that mindset if they need to do it all? Lack mentality. They don't want to spend any money. They're scared to spend what they already have, because that's what it is. It's all mindset. What are some things that you would give them for tips or books or tricks or whatever? Nothing's a trick, but to help to change that.
Yeah. So I'm glad you said mindset. I'm a huge guy within mindset and stuff. And, some of the coaching groups that you and I are both in is big on that. Like I got books that's on my desk, like a big one for me. Ed Milet, Power of One More.
Got it right here classic,
too. Exactly. Like, Lee Haight and contracting. And so I think the biggest thing that guys struggle with is, self-development. And so it took me a while too. And when I first started this and where I'm in today, my mindset is completely different, because I invested the time and the money into myself. By doing that and listening to these people that are well more successful than I am, I realized that I needed to get out of my own head. And it was kind of a wake-up point for me too. And it kind of hurt at the point, but it was probably the best thing my wife's ever told me is I need to get out of my own way. Like I was at the beginning of the business, I was the one that needed to step back and let other people do it. So when I got into that mindset and I listened to people saying, you got to step back, you just got to jump off the cliff, you got to hire somebody, or you got to just let go of the reins a little bit. And then you might, I don't say micromanage them, but you kind of make sure that they're doing everything you tell them to, but you're still backing away every step of the process. And then eventually you're out of it. And so, in the 2 years that we've been in business, you go from just my wife and I, now we have 11 employees. You don't have a choice but to step away and have those decisions. And I wouldn't do it if I didn't have self-confidence in myself to be able to lead the team, because I think that's a big thing. Some people feel that they can't lead. They don't have that confidence. Um, and then, yeah, it's a lot of money to invest into somebody, but that money automatically comes back to you because I'm not out there packaging, shipping orders. I'm in here doing this, growing my business, and I'm leading my team. And when guys can have the trust into somebody to do that, you pretty much doubled your business immediately.
Man, that's so good. And where, so you started in the personal development world. About how long ago would you say you started to reading and all that kind of stuff?
Well, just over a year ago, actually.
Okay,
So,
you knew.
yeah, so I actually just joined Arate. So
Yep,
it would have been June 1st of 2021. So
cool.
I'm pretty new to it, and I'm in Apex as well, and some other stuff. And I really kind of started just digging deep into it last year, and my business took off in the year. Me personally has taken off in the year. 75 hard, all the stuff that you hear about. I mean, they're life changing things, and I know me personally, my business would not be anywhere close to where it is if it wasn't for doing that.
That's so true. So like, so if someone's listening to this, they're like, yeah, okay, well, I get you, I hear you. I'm doing some of that stuff. I'm trying to personally develop. I'm working on that. But my mindset still isn't shifting. Are there some specific books? Because like you talked about, especially like the lead generation and like all of that kind of stuff. And I find that mm, the abundance versus like the money mindset is huge when it comes to business and investing in yourself like you talked about and all of that kind of mindset. Is there something that, like, did you ever struggle with that yourself specifically? Was there some books or something that just clicked to you and you're like, man, I need to invest into myself, I need to invest into my business? Because I mean, who, if you don't invest in yourself, who's going to invest into you? But how do you start to shift that mindset?
Yeah, I struggle with it absolutely. So, and obviously you hear about it and like imposter syndrome and stuff. And um, before I started this business, I mean, I have a really good, prominent name within my industry. Like I'm one of the leaders in my industry, which is great. I appreciate that. But doing that and putting myself out there, and also, you get your criticism, you get your flack, you get blah blah blah, and it does take a little bit of a toll on you. And so I kind of was like, hey, I don't want to scale my business. I'm just going to sit in the back, and I'm just going to kind of just grow and just kind of let it be organic. And then I wouldn't say just by changing or joining Arte or anything like that, it changed. Honestly, what it just came with is when I started doing a little bit of development, whether it's reading Ed or Andy's book, Tim Glover's Winning, right? So I was just like, winning was a huge thing for me. And the thing that kind of jumped it for me is you can see in the back, 75 hard. Like it sounds so cliche, but having that mindset shift for me was about prioritizing my time. I needed to figure out, hey, when am I getting this workout in? When am I got to pick up my kids? When my kids' sports? When it's business? And I refocused my energy into my time. And by doing that, I found that my business was growing, and that compounded because as I was growing and getting more customers, the feedback that I was getting from my customers immediately boosted my self confidence. It wasn't like, hey, sit in the shadows. They were kind of affirming, like, yeah, you got good products. You're a good person. You're leading a good company. And that's honestly what it was. So I wouldn't say there was a book or 75 hard. Nothing really dramatically changed. It's kind of compounded over time.
Mm-hmm.
But I knew that when I kind of got out of my comfort zone and I grew the business the way I wanted to, I got the feedback from the community and our industry and my customers that actually took it to the next level. And that's changed my mindset the most.
That's awesome. I love that. And you touched briefly, and I like to dig into this. You touched briefly on, the negativity of also growing your business. And so a lot of new entrepreneurs, I remember when I started, I had a lot of people saying, man, you can't do that, all that stuff. And just different mindsets. So as you grow, and even in the last 16 years, because even before starting your business, you were pretty successful within your industry. It sounds like too, and helping a lot of companies. So even through all of that, when you started to grow, especially though personally, did you find you had it? Because people are like, well, I don't want to, cut people from my life, and I don't want to do all that. So what were some of the things that you found as you went through some of that negativity that helped you? And were there a lot of like, I'm cutting you out, or just kind of separations? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's kind of hard to tell, but that picture of behind me with that wolf above it, it says, I'm coming for everything they said I couldn't have.
Love
When
it.
I first started this business, there was a salesman at my old company, and that's what he said. He said, I'm never going to make it. I'm never going to make it successful. I'm never going to boot. And so I have that chip on my shoulder. And unfortunately, we use that negative, you know, as motivation, right? So unfortunately, I have been told a lot of that. And so I have separated myself from a lot of people in the industry. Um, Sad to say, but some family stuff, friends, and you find that you aren't necessarily separating from them, but as you grow, you find yourself kind of naturally separating from them, right? So, like, if they're
Mhm.
still kind of stuck back here, they're in this mindset, and I'm in this mindset. Well, guess what? I just found three more people in my coaching group or other business neighbors, and I'm in that mindset. And so I've gravitated off to that way versus this way. So you don't do it on purpose, but naturally it happens. And then eventually they're still there. They're good people. We still talk, and but they're just not part of my day-to-day operation or my life. And then of course, every now and then they'll be like, "Hey, you still doing this? Are you still doing that?" And they don't know. I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, we still got that. We just moved to a different warehouse.
Still
We
doing
still
that
do."
thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, and they're like, "Oh, whoa, cool." Then they're interested again for a little bit. You kind of just keep them there, but you have to separate yourself. I mean, you got to find those like-minded people. And again, we can talk mindset and growth and everything, but it's until you find like-minded people who want to help grow your company in the exact same way that follow your core values, you're going to be treading water the entire time.
Yes, and like I said, I see that that was something I know I did was looking at the associations, which is why Arte is so powerful. And obviously you're in Apex, and Apex I know is really good too. And you don't have to be part of a group, but you do have to find people that are like you. I agree with
Yeah.
that 100%. And like, did you ever have like moments when honestly you were like, tell us, like, let's be honest, some moments where you were like down and out and didn't feel like getting up, and what got you out of bed in the mornings? This is a question I get asked a lot. So what got
Yeah.
you out of bed in the morning to, to do the work continuously, even on those moments that were really tough?
Yeah. I mean, I have those moments almost every week. I mean, there's going to be nothing's easy, and you're going to have those. Like, if you're motivated all the time, something's not right, because and if something's not going wrong, you're not learning, you're not growing. So there's always something, and those
Mm.
challenges help you grow, but they're extremely hard. I mean, nothing in life is easy. And if you look at it, I wouldn't say I try to compartmentalize everything, but I take it one step, one day, one thing at a time. And so I would say I'm putting out one fire now, and then what's the next fire? And I don't try to compound it, but there's a lot of times that I'm just like, I don't really feel like going in the office today. But I know that if I don't, my customers are lacking, right? So they're out there putting my products, my floors, and everything down, and they need me as a resource in case something goes wrong or technical support. So I need to be available to them. But if I just kind of sit at home and be lazy or take naps and do that, and my phone rings and they're not available, and they go and screw stuff up, the ball's gonna start rolling negatively down the hill. And so honestly, kind of what keeps me going is I thrive off making them successful, and I need to be available to give them the tool to be successful consistently. And then plus my employees. We were talking about this the other day. Is it's like our duty as a CEO to make sure that my employees are taken care of. Because if I just go and I go golfing all the time or whatever it is, they're not happy. They're not seeing the vision. They're not, hey, Pete's in here putting in all the work. I should be putting in the work. And um, it sucks. I don't want to come in the office a lot of times. I mean, there's no doubt about it, or do the work out in the warehouse. But when they see me doing that, and my customers see me doing that, I show up, which motivates them to show up.
So as a leader, I mean, that's just part of it. And here's another question I get, which you talk a lot about, your team and stuff. And I get a lot of that. I get people saying, Angela, like, I don't really want to be a leader. And they are a leader, but they don't want to be. So,
Sure.
because I mean, really, literally all of us are leaders, whether we want to be or not. If we're on
Yep.
social media, especially if we're on any kind of anything, someone's watching us, someone's following us, period. So what are some things that you would say to someone that's like, I don't want to be a leader, but they are, because we all are, that would
Yeah.
help them like maybe shift that mindset? Was there ever a point where you were like that, I don't want to be a leader, and maybe you took a foot off the gas, but got it, like using 75 hard or using some strategies or whatever, got things going again because you're able to realize it's not about you, it's about your team.
Sure.
What are some things that kind of helped you in those moments?
Yeah. So we've talked to our customers, and we kind of do, and we have a lot of customers who don't necessarily like want to be on camera, right? So like I have a lot of customers doing very, very good and very successful, and they have no problem talking to people in person. But if I said, hey, jump on the Zoom call with me or go shoot a video, that, and go put it on Facebook, put yourself out there. They're like, oh no, shit, kind of, I got to hold back. And I had to come out of that comfort zone too. Like, I can go and give speeches to hundreds and hundreds of people, but then all of a sudden I go shoot a video and put it on social media where now thousands of people can see it. Okay. And so getting out of that comfort zone, we break it down into like marketing points. So because we want to sell our company, our brand, our vision, and everything. And so when we work with a marketing company that helps us get lead generation and everything, video is king nowadays. And so we want to try to get out as much video as possible. And so my thing was getting in front of the camera for 30 seconds to 2 minutes, and then showing my customers how to do that, and then telling them to consistently get on Facebook and post on that and just get out of that comfort zone, because then that's slowly allowing them vulnerability. And I think that's part of the thing, is just being vulnerable. Criticism is going to happen. Take it for what you want, but you're never going to grow if you just keep staying in the back. And so the mindset is going to slowly change as you start getting leads and you start building your business. And then it's not as hard to get on camera. And instead of doing one video a day, you're doing 2-3 videos a day. And again, like I say, just kind of compounds, and everything starts from just being vulnerable, honestly.
Yeah. So being vulnerable as a leader, then kind of being vulnerable to your team and helping them, kind of go with that. So now you also have 4 kids. I wanted to touch on this because I don't have kids, but I have a lot of people obviously that listen that have kids and are, that's another thing. How do I balance my life? How do I balance, I don't want to give up my kids' times to build this business, but yet I want the better life. I want to live paycheck to paycheck. So I want to build a business, but so what is something that you guys have worked on to help, quote, have balance, if there is such a thing? What are your thoughts on that?
Balance is extremely hard. There's nothing easy about trying to run this type of business with 4 kids. And I struggle with it, I'll be honest. And again, I do majority of my work on my phone. Like, I can be pretty mobile. I get a lot of phone calls, a lot of texts. And so, and a lot of times it doesn't stop. So we have customers from coast to coast in Canada, Mexico, and everywhere in between. And so I might get a phone call at 6 in the morning or at 8 p.m. because that's when they're physically doing the work. And so for me to try to say I have office hours doesn't really work. And so I probably work more than I should when I'm around my family. They've come to understand that. My kids range from 17 to 5, right? So we have a wide range of, like, my oldest son, 17, very independent. He's actually about 2 hours away from us right now by himself at a hotel at a hockey camp. It's just kind of, he can go and do that. So he understands that, hey, when dad's working, he's doing all this. It's for the greater good. Now, my 5-year-old doesn't know any better. He just wants to go kick a ball around. So it's extremely hard, but I've gotten better, and it's helped a lot now that the business has grown. We have 2 other people that can take some of the technical calls and take that stuff off of me. And so I make it a plan. And one of my things that I've been trying to personally work on the last probably 2 or 3 months is being more present. And I think that's huge. And I've noticed it. And this is I'm glad you asked the question, because it reiterates back to myself. Hey, I got to be more present. I got to do this because I get away from it. And so I might not have exact office hours, but like last night at my son's soccer game, phone was in the pocket. Didn't matter who texted me for that hour. I was there watching my son's soccer game. And it's not easy. There's no doubt about it. But I would say, even if you just carve out a couple hours a night, an hour a night, whatever it is, and spend the time with your family, they're going to notice it. And that's going to be so much better, because kids are always asking for our attention. And even just a small amount of time that you can give them is going to
actual quality time.
Quality time, absolutely. Be present with them, because the same. I could be around them, and instead of maybe reading a book to my son, I'm on my phone while he's watching TV. Yeah, I'm with him, but I'm not present. And so that's what I've tried to make more time is, and I need to do it better. There's no doubt about it. We all do. Yeah. But I make a conscious effort to be present.
And do you involve them? Curious, because I know a lot of families do. They involve them in like the goal setting. Hey, if mom and dad, if we do this, then we're gonna go here. We're gonna kind of using them. I don't know if you do a vision board with them, or do you do anything like that with them that really starts to involve them into the company and into the vision of where you guys are going?
Yeah, when we first started, so the older 3, kind of helped out, right? So they've been around the business. They understand it. My 17-year-old actually works for us.
Okay,
And
cool.
so in the summertime, he's in the back, packing orders and everything. So, I mean, he knows all of our products. He knows the system and he's within the company. And so he is an integral part of the company. So he sees that. He sees the goals. He sees the vision. And then we have talked about that. We are actually in the process of closing on a new house next week. And we
Congrats.
talked, hey, that's an upgrade from where we're at. And we're talking about, hey, if we did that and then we can invest in this and we're going to save money here. And we're constantly trying to talk to them about them and one, provide them with a better life, but two, say, hey, if we're not doing the work, none of this is possible. And my oldest son is very goal oriented. Like he wants to go play in the NHL. He wants to be a hockey goalie, and he's very driven. That's why he's at camps and he's independent and doing all that stuff. And so he's really starting to see that. And hey, if I'm not putting in the hard work today as a 17-year-old, how the hell am I going to get something when I'm 25, or whatever that is? Nothing's just going to happen. So
Mhm.
absolutely, we do that. They're in the company, they're in the shop, they're around it. They've met my customers. Like they're
Cool.
in the truck. They're in the truck when it comes to calls, and like, oh, that's Frank from Texas, and we kind of just try to create a family environment, but they see it as nothing's possible without the hard work, and that is absolutely something I tell them almost weekly. Try it, not daily, but weekly.
Right. So they learn to work. I love it. That's so cool. So in wrapping up, I have three final questions I always ask, at the end, and then anything that I missed that you would like to tell a listener that, if they run into a coffee shop, they'd be like, Pete, what else? What should you have said that you didn't say? So we'll
Yeah.
go into that. But three final questions. Number one, if someone's looking for their purpose, what's one sentence that you would say that could help them find their purpose?
You got to know your why. What physically motivates you, and it's not can't be money. It can't be short term. It's gonna be long term goal.
That's awesome. I love that. What's your why? Number two, and you might have more than one, but right now, what's your favorite quote and why?
Ooh, um, I think I'm gonna go with Ed Milet. Winning is more fun than fun is fun.
I
Um,
like that one.
and that's a classic one that we know quite a bit. And there's nothing that drives me more, makes me more or happy when I see my customers or my business win.
That's cool. I like that. And number three, what do you want to say on your gravestone?
Ooh, um, I haven't thought of that. Um, I'm just gonna keep it simple. A giver.
Giver. I love that. Awesome. And then, like I said, if you run into someone in the store and they're like, hey, Pete, what's something Angela didn't touch on with you that I think would just really help me with my business? What's something that we didn't touch on today that you think would be super helpful?
Motivation and goal setting. I mean, I think long-term goal setting, right? Re-engineering, starting your focus from your where you want to be in 5 years, 10 years, 15 years with your business and work it backwards.
That's awesome. I love that. Thank you so much for being on today. As always, listeners, make sure to rate, review, subscribe. We'll have Pete's information in the show notes. Make sure to, follow and check out what he's doing too, which is super awesome. So let's go out there. Let's change one life or one starfish at a time. And together we can change the world. Thank you so much, Pete.
Sounds good. Thank you, Angela.